Welcome back, Edom fans. Today's episode, I'm putting my rims back together, I guess you could say. Putting the bladders or the rubber strips, whatever you want to call them. I've already done my front rim, just so I knew how it would go together. And I'll try and explain, I'll do it on my rear rim. There's actually two parts. There's this rubber, it's almost like a plastic rubber. And then you've got the rubber bladder with all the different edges and seals and whatnots. We'll get to that part later. This part goes on first. Goes right over top of the spoke nipples. And see, it's got dents on there. Concave and convex. Actually, that's concave. Anyway, what I've done is you line up where the air nipple goes, because the air nipple is actually built right in to this rubber strip, whatever you want to call it. What I do is I just take a tapered piece of plastic. This just happens to be a old modeling paintbrush. Stick it through the hole so that's lined up, and just a piece of nylon plastic stick, and just run it along like this. Trying not to stretch the rubber band too much. Just run it along. It is going to be a tight fit. It's actually harder to do than you would think. Set this under here like this. Try not to scratch the powder coat. If you haven't watched my last video, you can see I've got my rims all powder coated. 50% orange, 50%, ouch, watch your fingers, black. Yeah, put that on like so. And the reason I put this paintbrush here is now the air line, or the hole for the air valve, lines up, no problem. Next step is to put this rubber bladder or rubber sleeve on the rim. Start with air valve. I've taken the nut off and the little cap. This is where it gets tricky. Put that on like that. Okay, this isn't really the tricky part, but put the nut on, not tight, just loose, just to hold the bladder in place. And take this nylon stick. Try not to stretch the rubber bladder too much. I know I can't really help it because it has to be bigger than the rim itself. I'm not real good at this, so bear with me. Just give it a tug and a pull to overlap it. Don't fold it over, keep it flat. Stick out. And just keep this flat. Pull it so it's sort of in its, roughly where it's going to go. Kind of like so. That was the easy part. Make sure it's sort of in its place all around. And we're going to start from the air nipple, which is right here. Okay, this is the tricky part. You can see, well, it's kind of hard to see, but under here there's a groove. Then there's this little round bit. This has to go in. You have to kind of tuck it underneath like this and then push in with this thing. I'll try and do a little bit, but it's hard to do and film at the same time. But the secret is wet. A little bit of soap and water. Push that down into the groove, and then take your stick and force it in. Same as this side. A little bit of water and soap, put it down like so. Take the stick, push it in. You'll know when it's in because you won't be able to peel it back with your fingers. You see, I didn't get it in place. Just like that. Come around and do this side. The reason I'm starting with the air nipple is I noticed when I did the other rim, this was the hardest point because it's sort of bolted and not bolted, but well, yeah, technically it's bolted in place. So you don't get as much movement and as much room to work. And you just push it in with your thumb like so. And you'll know when it's in proper because you can barely get a fingernail to lift it back out. And that's it for now. Once you get it started, with soap and water, all you really have to do is just push in with your thumb, just along like so. And try really hard not to force this way, because once you get to the edge, you're going to end up with a big ripple. And you really don't want that, because I have a feeling that that's really going to affect the sealing of the air, because there's no tube in here. This is the only thing sealing or keeping the air in. I'm doing a few inches on one side, flip it over, a little squirt of soap and water, and just pushing it in with your thumb. See, very simple. And that's it.